Are you looking for an easy way to support heart health? Catch the info at the end of this video for more information on the delicious science of Super Beet Heart Chews. This Arlington National Cemetery story is not going away, and in fact, it's getting worse and worse for Donald Trump. This story absolutely has the potential to be damaging for Donald Trump this election cycle. The Republicans who literally sometimes wrap themselves in the flag, Donald Trump who's kissing and hugging the flag disrespectfully, the Republicans who talk about respect for the troops and the Gold Star families, who time and time again, not to mention supporting a candidate who calls wounded warriors and the dead military service people suckers and losers, but they promote his candidacy. There is no low too low for these sycophantic cult members. And it is now turning, this assault is now turning into a scary situation. The woman, it was a woman who was assaulted, and you're going to find out it wasn't some random low-level campaign person. It was big members, names you'll recognize, and we're going to get to that. I don't even know where to begin. I got two different articles here. But first I want to say this. It does not matter whether or not Donald Trump was invited by certain families, because there are other families that were the graves of their loved ones were photographed in a campaign effort for Donald Trump. These images were posted. Videos that were taken by the campaign were posted against the law, against federal law, posted to TikTok and all over the internet for the sole purpose, the contrived purpose of boosting the candidacy of the campaign of Donald Trump. It wasn't to honor our war dead. It wasn't to honor wounded warriors who died in combat or served valiantly and ended up buried at Arlington National Cemetery. It was not for that purpose. I got clips of J.D. Vance here being an absolute lapdog dipshit for Donald Trump. It's getting worse, and there absolutely is, without doubt, a portion of undecided voters or independents or even Republicans who this may be the straw that breaks the camel's back. They're not going to take it anymore. I know veterans. I am a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and this disgusts me. Here is the headline from the New York Times. Trump videos at Arlington stir more fallout after graveside visit. The family of a Green Beret buried there expressed concern about videos and photos taken by his grave, and a cemetery employee declined to press charges after an altercation with the Trump team, fearing retribution. Those are the two elements that I want to talk about here, is that Donald Trump absolutely disrespected the sacred place that a veteran is buried, and a woman, an employee who dedicates her life to the processes at Arlington National Cemetery to honor our dead, a sacred space. They're doing a job that is honored and humble and selfless. And Donald Trump trampled on it by assaulting her, and she's not pressing charges because she's afraid of retribution from the cult. That's a big deal. While the media is bending over backwards to try to put Donald Trump on a level playing field as a normal candidate with Kamala Harris, this shit is happening at a breakneck pace. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. J.D. Vance was asked by a CBS reporter yesterday about this, and I'm going to play his response, and then we'll get to some of this, because this answers his nonsense. Watch J.D. Vance.
Hi, Senator. Good to see you again. Ali Novello with CBS News. I have two questions for you. One, could you tell us more about the altercation that happened at the Arlington Cemetery? And two, what does debate prep look like for yourself and for Trump at this time?
Well, I think, first of all, The altercation at Arlington Cemetery is the media creating a story where I really don't think that there is one. There is verifiable evidence. There is verifiable evidence that the campaign was allowed to have a photographer there. There's verifiable, they were invited to have a photographer there. There's verifiable evidence that the families of these poor people who had their loved ones die 3 years ago at Abbey Road, Abbey Gate, those 13 Americans, a lot of them were there with the president. They invited him to be there and to support them. That's not an insult to the memories of their loved ones. They wanted Donald Trump there, and thank God that we have a president who stands with our veterans instead of one who runs away from them. Now it is amazing to me that you have apparently somebody at Arlington Cemetery, some staff member, had a little disagreement with somebody, and the media has turned this into a national news story. You know what I think our veterans care a lot more about?
Two things. One, I'll tell you what veterans are thinking about, what they're worried about. And it's this. It's also this among a panoply of other issues. But the comment there, apparently someone at Arlington Cemetery, some staff member had a little disagreement with somebody. We'll get to the somebody. And the media has turned this into a national news story. It's because it is. Former Marine brother of mine, J.D. Vance. He also had this to say about Kamala Harris, very brief, like 11 seconds.
Kamala Harris is so asleep at the wheel that she won't even do an investigation into what happened, and she wants to yell at Donald Trump because he showed up. She can go to hell.
Kamala can go to hell, huh? While you're promoting the candidacy on the ticket with the guy you called America's Hitler and dishonoring the memories of your fallen brothers and sisters buried at Arlington Cemetery, you absolute coward weakling, J.D. Vance. So let's get to the story here. The family of a Green Beret who died by suicide after serving 8 combat tours and is buried at Arlington National Cemetery expressed concern on Wednesday night that Donald J. Trump's campaign had filmed his gravesite without permission as Mr. Trump stood in an area where campaign photography isn't allowed. For the record, it would not matter if they had permission from the family. You cannot, under federal law, do this for purposes of campaigning, for partisanship. Against the law. It doesn't matter whether the family approves or not. Relatives of Master Sergeant Andrew Marcansano issued their statement 2 days after Mr. Trump's visit, which also included a confrontation between members of the Trump campaign and an Arlington employee. The former president's campaign took video in a heavily restricted section of the cemetery known as Section 60, which is largely reserved for fallen veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Sergeant Marcansano died on July 7, 2020, after moving to Washington, D.C. to begin a job at the Pentagon. He had 3 children, and friends said he had chronic post-traumatic stress disorder from his time in combat. He earned silver and bronze stars during his service. His gravesite is adjacent to that of Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover, a Marine who was killed in the 2021 bombing at Abbey Gate outside the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. These are people who gave the ultimate sacrifice, whether or not it was PTSD related and he died by suicide or he died actively in combat or a hostile environment. And Republicans who stick up for this are they're platforming disrespect of our troops. They're advancing the candidacy of a man who doesn't give a single fuck about veterans, about the sacrifice of heroes. This is what Donald Trump's spokesman had to say. Stephen Chung, a Trump campaign spokesman, did not address the statement from Marcansano and the Marcansano family, saying when asked about the TikTok video only that the campaign will continue to respect the wishes of the Gold Star family members who invited President Trump. You don't, and you're not, and you didn't. You're not going to continue to respect them. You're breaking federal law. Now, about the victim of this assault, who is refusing to press charges for fear of her own safety. In the aftermath of the Monday altercation, the Army has closed the matter after the Arlington official declined to press charges, according to 3 U.S. military officials. Some Trump campaign members confronted and eventually pushed past the cemetery official when she tried to stop them from taking photos in Section 60. By the way, this article is terribly written. It is all over the map. They do not draw a narrative here. It is ridiculous, New York Times. Get your shit together. A woman who works at the cemetery filed an incident report with military authorities over the altercation, but the official, who has not been identified, later declined to press charges. Military officials said she feared Mr. Trump supporters pursuing retaliation. Not normal, not okay, but this is the reality we live in, where Donald Trump's cult will retaliate. There will be retribution against someone who is just enforcing federal law and trying to maintain decorum and respect of a sacred space in our country. Military officials said that the cemetery worker feared that pursuing the matter with the authorities at Joint Base Meyer-Henderson Hall in Virginia, which has jurisdiction over the cemetery, could subject her to retaliation from Trump supporters. Mr. Chung said in a statement on Wednesday that, quote, "that is ridiculous and sounds like someone who has Trump derangement syndrome." Now, remember the statement he made earlier about we will continue to respect the Gold Star families, Stephen Chung. When I say that it's not some low-level staffer who was involved in this assault, when you put your hands on someone against their will and you push them aside, that is an assault. When you disrespect our troops, that is disgusting. It wasn't some low-level staffer. It was Stephen Chung himself and Chris LaCivita. The 2 Trump campaign officials, Mr. Chung and Chris LaCivita, had insulted the cemetery worker in public statements on Tuesday. Mr. Chung asserted that she was suffering from a mental health episode, while Mr. LaCivita said that she was a despicable individual who does not deserve to represent the hallowed grounds of Arlington National Cemetery. The Trump team said it was prepared to release footage of the altercation, but never did. It was LaCivita and Stephen Chung who committed this act, who violated this person and assaulted them. High-level Donald Trump campaign staffers, officials. This is the priority of the Donald Trump campaign, is to disrespect everyone, all norms, all things we hold dear and sacred for the sake of advancing Donald Trump's candidacy. There's got to be somebody out there whose support for Donald Trump will now start to evaporate. We've heard enough. We've heard the losers and suckers, and every subsequent thing that happens related to veterans, related to our fallen heroes, backs that up. It can no longer be denied, even by the most sycophantic turds connected to Donald Trump. What do you think? I'd love to know. 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me as always, daily@dollemore.com. Leave a comment below. Help the algorithm. Follow me on social media. I'd love to hear from you there. I'm at Dollemore everywhere. And stick around for a word from today's sponsor very briefly. For me, when it comes to healthy regimens, the lowest barrier to entry seems to be the only way for me to keep it going. The exercise bike in the corner, well, all I have to do is get on it. And why mess with a bunch of pills or ingredients that you have to measure and mix when you can simply snack on something that's yummy for your health? Human's new Super Beats Heart Chews Advance give you 3-in-1 blood pressure support thanks to powerful formulation of grapeseed extract, beetroot powder, and CoQ10. Small but mighty, these are a delicious and easy way to support my blood pressure and stimulate heart-healthy energy without the crash that comes from taking other stimulants. Find out how you can get a free 30-day supply on bundles of new Super Beets Heart Chews Advanced and save 15% by going to getsuperbeets.com and using my promo code Jesse. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the antioxidants in Super Beets are clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. Human Super Beets are the #1 doctor, pharmacist, and cardiologist recommended beet brand for cardiovascular health support. They're a plant-based and stimulant-free way to help you realize your potential. And they are an easy-to-use thing. You just chew. Head to getsuperbeets.com and use code Jesse to save 15% and access free 30-day supply on bundles of Super Beets Heart Chews. That's getsuperbeets.com and use promo code Jesse to support this channel and to make healthy living simple with Super Beets.